Hello and welcome back to the show. So, for today's guest, I am super excited because it's been a long time coming. But I want to introduce you guys to my good friend and one of the top commercial real estate brokers in South Africa in the Western Cape, Joe Przygonski, who is not only a great real estate broker, but also has recorded that he told me the second highest sale in the history of Western Cape in commercial real estate. So this is somebody who clearly knows his stuff, who is going to be dropping a lot of knowledge for us today, and also sharing his experience and why Western Cape and Cape Town has actually been voted not only the number one best city in the world in 2025, but also a great place for commercial real estate investment now and also in the future as well. So Joe, man, welcome to the show. You're a great friend, and I'm really excited to finally have you on the show today.
Yeah, Kobe, that's a fantastic introduction. It's almost I feel like a movie star or a rock star. So thank you for that. I'm not sure how much of that I can live up to, but thank you so much. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be on your show. As I said to you before we started, that we should call this the Unusual Patient Show. You've shown tremendous patience, perseverance, and resilience in getting me onto the show. I know, and it's got nothing to do with the show. The show's done incredibly well. I've seen you grow over the last couple of years. It's incredible from where you started to where you are now. And yeah, man, thank you once again just to be on the show with you. It's an absolute privilege. I recently watched a podcast. A professor from Harvard was speaking about the four fundamentals of joy, or what makes us more joyous in our lives, and the four: friendship, family, faith, and work. And it's incredible over the last couple of years how we've developed a friendship between ourselves. You've had tremendous faith in me, and I appreciate that. And I'm not just we all have our own faith as well. Um, Family, we've become like a family, and it's work related, and that's been it's been a pleasure for me to see you grow over the last couple of years with the work that you're doing, especially with the real estate company that you represent as well, and their exponential growth, to pardon the pun, over the last couple of years has been amazing. And um, for myself, it's been easy to get onto this platform now because it's not about myself or even what I do. It's what's happening in the Western Cape and even in South Africa. So the Western Cape is a shining light in South Africa at the moment. It's one of the provinces in South Africa in terms of its growth in commercial and residential, and the way that a proper functioning province can operate. A province is similar to a state, maybe not as big as a state in America, for example. We're always fascinated. We are fascinated with America. We're fascinated with the USA. We always, when they say the United States sneezes, we all catch a cold. I mean that's most of the world anyway. But we are, for myself, I speak for myself. Um, it's hard for us to comprehend that there are states in America like Texas, like California, and many others, whose GDP is in the top 10 countries in the world. Like that just boggles our mind. That the opportunity in real estate or in property, um, United States leads the way, and so we obviously take a lot of direction from what happens in the United States, and so I'm grateful to have you as a friend, and in many respects, although I'm only 5 years older than you, can all see that. Um, Jokes. It's incredible that someone that's in their mid 20s, I think, is doing such great work, and I can see from the podcast, and I think I'm introducing you here. So we can see from the podcast the type of people, the caliber of the people, the Sanfords, the Andrew Thompsons of the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it's and many others, that have have agreed to come onto your show. I'm sure not by blackmail or coercion, just they want to be a part of what you're doing, because um, you do it well, and so thank you. You said that I should just speak a little bit about myself. So yeah, so I'm 50 second generation Polish, Afrikaner marriage. My mom was Afrikaans, my father's Polish. Father was a refugee from the Second World War. Spent 5 years in a Siberian concentration camp. Spent 5 years in a refugee camp here in South Africa. Um, Worked at sea for 40 years and unable to speak English or Afrikaans. Started a family. My mother's greatest accolade, I think, was staying married to my father for 49 years. He was a wild man, but a good man. And yeah, so we're born and bred South Africans. And to be absolutely honest, I've been in the Western Cape for my entire 56 years. And even more so than that, I can honestly say that um, I grew up a few kilometers away from where I stay now. So pretty much stayed in the same suburb, in the southern suburbs of the Western Cape, stayed in the Western Cape. So probably my greatest skill is just being able to be a mouthpiece or a voice for what has transpired in the Western Cape. And I think that's where it started about a year or two ago when we thought about maybe doing a podcast, because it's really about just being able to say, look, I don't actually have to have any super skill or any knowledge. The Western Cape itself, as a province, has shown to the world, and it's clear for everybody to see. Just what an amazing place the province is in terms of holiday destination, in terms of emigrating here, in terms of buying investment properties, whether it's hotels, guest houses, commercial, retail, office space is booming again. We're back to pre-COVID occupancy levels for office space, which is unusual. In a lot of cities around the world, they're still struggling with flagging office space vacancies. That's not the case in the Western Cape. Cape Town is booming, and so I think my only real skill is being able to be literally feet on the ground. We network with hundreds, if not thousands, of residential agents. Residential agents play a massive role in commercial and industrial as well, because they're also the eyes and ears out in the communities, and they give us vital information. Um, and if you fly into Cape Town, Cape Town International Airport also voted the #1 airport in the world this year, that's very, I stand undercorrected. Most of what I'm going to tell you is absolutely factual. Some might be a lie, but I don't know it's a lie. I think it's the truth. Okay, so people can fact check me. I'm almost 100% certain. Cape Town was voted top airports in the world. We've been voted. Western Cape's been voted, at least Cape Town's voted #1 city in the world for quite a few years. I think of the last 7 years, it's about 5 times. And then also, and this is the one that might be a lie, also voted the friendliest city in the world. So I don't know. It all depends who you're polling and where you're polling. I mean, if you're in a 5-star hotel anywhere in the world and you ask them, what's your experience? And you just can say, yeah, that's fantastic. So it varies, but those are the facts on the ground. It's the only province in South Africa. I stand under correction, but declining jobless rate, declining crime rate, and not just for one quarter. Okay, it's for consecutive quarters over the last 24 months. So unemployment is decreasing, crime is decreasing, and the unemployment one is the big one, because that's something that plagues South Africa. High unemployment rate because of you know the apartheid era, which lasted for many years, and only changed around about 1990. So there's been massive strides by the government of the day to rectify that, and a lot of good has been done. Um, but with regards to the unemployment rate in the Western Cape, so we have a massive semigration into the Western Cape. So a lot of people moving into the Western Cape. It's grown to about 6 million people now in the Western Cape. So you would have expected the unemployment rate to go up, because we have to increase the number of jobs greater than your normal population growth, and taking into account the massive semigration into the Western Cape from outlying provinces, and also semigration from the rest of Africa. Cape Town has become a mecca for the whole of Africa. As you see massive emigration from some countries that are conflicted in Africa away from the continent across to Europe, and the challenges that creates. So too, there's been massive immigration into South Africa. 30 years ago, our population was sitting at about 50 million. Now it's at 64 million. So, the Western Cape has 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 spent a fortune on infrastructural spending, on transport, roads, harbors, airports, and create an environment where jobs are being created, and help to reduce unemployment, which is I think that's a fundamental for growth in the Western Cape, and it underpins together with declining crime rates as well. Security is a massive a pillar of support. You have to have good governance. You have to keep your corruption levels to record lows. You have to have clean audits. So the fundamentals for commercial property, for residential property, for industrial office, all comes from probably the last 15 years of good governance. Without good governance, uh, very little can take place that moves a country forward. And then there's also been, there's been, since we started speaking a couple of years ago. I mean, COVID was COVID, and we all had to deal with those challenges. And South Africa came through that with flying colors. The government of the day was celebrated for the efforts that they put in for supporting people through massive unemployment. Um, and there was some trepidation. We had our national elections only a few years ago, 1.5 years ago, and it's amazing that we have a coalition government. For the first time in the history of South Africa uh, since 1990, and I think that galvanized the Western Cape. There was a lot of confidence was restored, if not nationally, definitely in the Western Cape. But it goes back further than the national elections of the recent past. The hard work was put in from 15 years ago, if not longer. And it all is based around investing back into your support structures, into infrastructure, harbors, railway, airports, roads, education, creating an environment where jobs are created, and that filters down. The greater the jobs, the more income tax the government or local government can bring in, and then the effective the effective re-employment of that tax money into services and education, etc., and hospitals. And there are a lot of positives. South Africa as a whole, we have free medical for most of the population. That's a massive thing. If you think about your own situation in America, I mean, that's Medicaid and the implication. We listen to all the broadcasts, whether you choose to watch Fox or you choose to watch CNN. It's probably best to watch both if you want to get some middle ground. And so medical care is a massive concern for populations around the world, especially aging populations. And South Africa, we have our challenges and there are our detractors, but the reality is, the government of the day 30 years ago have created an environment where 20 million social grants are paid out to people on a monthly basis. Yes, there might be some plans that we're creating a welfare state, but 20 or 30 million people never had formal housing, never had formal electricity or water, as I mentioned to you before. And there's still those challenges, but we live in the best of times in the Western Cape. Okay, that for me is irrefutable. So as I was saying, if you fly to Cape Town and you land and you drive into Cape Town city center, and I think this is emblematic of many prosperous or at least growing economies in cities around the world, wherever they may be. When you notice the skyline with massive sets of cranes everywhere, it's just cranes upon cranes, especially on the Atlantic seaboard side, extending right through the entire inner city bowl of Cape Town. So development is happening. If there were no cranes, then you say, okay, well, some development is happening. You maybe don't need the big cranes because they're not building the big buildings. But if the cranes are there, you know what it costs to rent a crane a day. Not to be too basic about things, but the reality is, feet on the ground tell us that massive building plans have been passed. Just recently, I read an article where 40 new 40 hotels are being built in the Western Cape already. Okay, so never mind that there's a couple of hundred of them already. Yeah, and the city of Cape Town is not a big area, so they wouldn't be building the hotels, not to be too basic about things, but they wouldn't be building the hotels if the people weren't coming. As you remember Kevin Costner's movie, uh, Build the Stadium, the people will come. So that's happening, and that's going on because there's renewed confidence at an all-time high, I think. Yes, it fluctuates from day to day or month to month. We're in a declining interest rate environment as well as the rest of the world is as well. We watch the Dow Jones going to record all-time highs, and we scratch our head and go, "Wow!" Um, in spite of everything, the Dow Jones is at record-breaking territory, and it's got a lot to do with the smart money hedging their bets on Powell dropping interest rates in the not too distant future, whether he wants to or not. Not really, I'm just joking. You might want to edit that out. Yeah. So, so, so on a continental, if you just zoom out and look at what's happening worldwide, there's declining interest rate environment. It would appear as if that is on the horizon. Otherwise, the DJ wouldn't be at all-time record highs. Um, and that filters down virtually to every other continent. Um, and so stable or declining interest rate environment spurs, it reduces risk and spurs the banks to lend ever increasing amounts of money. If you have a positive workforce and you have a positive building environment, which we do have with much lower security risks, um, much lower unemployment than the rest of the country, then it augurs well. And so you have, I mean, it's almost so we coined the phrase semigration. So we have seen it as a broker, commercial broker with 15 years experience. Um, 5 years ago, semigration wasn't something that we spoke about. So people lived in Gauteng, people lived in Limpopo or KwaZulu-Natal, they lived in Western Cape, beyond the borders. Um, if I'm looking up at top of Africa, towards the top of Africa, we've got Namibia on the left, we've got Botswana above us, we've got Zimbabwe, we've got Mozambique, and so we never spoke or thought of people coming into South Africa. That did happen immediately after 1990. Um, but it was a different type of semigration. It was people that were trying to move away from conflict situations or conflict areas, and literally just find a safe haven, safe place to stay. And that happened, and we had open borders. And now you see people that still continues to this day, but there are businesses, corporate head offices, major institutions who are relocating from other provinces, other countries to Cape Town because they see that Cape Town possibly has the lowest risk and the greatest opportunity for future forward growth. There are real estate investment trusts that are massively successful, listed on the JSE, that only invest in the Western Cape. And those that say that, and there are others that invest around the country, but when you look at the finer details of the investment strategies, significant portions of the allocated funds come towards the Western Cape. So that's not bragging or showing off the Western Cape. That's just how it is at the moment. Yeah, and long may it be so, and hopefully it will be a shining light for for the rest of South Africa. And yes, there are centers of excellence all around South Africa. It's not just the Western Cape. Um, and there are massive companies that invest through the whole of South Africa. But to get back to South Africa, you absolutely to Cape Town. Um, One of the most beautiful cities in the world. Okay, so I would say one of the most beautiful cities in South Africa because that's probably my limit of my expertise. But it's recognized as a beautiful city. Tourism, just very briefly, tourism, uh, continental tourism towards South Africa from the rest of Africa is up 60% in the last 2 years. International air traffic into Cape Town is up 30 odd percent year on year. It's actually so. You mentioned where we ply our trade. We have what's interesting is that we have several hotels which are the equivalent of a couple of 100 million rand. One of them that's been on the market for, I won't mention names. It's literally been on the market for, I'd say, the best part of 5 or 6 years at quite a significant price. It was many offers, but nothing ever panned out in the end. It was recently sold to a German consortium, if I'm not mistaken. Quite a few hotels in the city centre also marketed at a couple of 100 million rand each. Recently have all taken offers as well from companies. One of the companies is from one of our neighboring countries. I won't mention names as well, just because it's not 100% transferred yet. But those things are happening. So so what we see on the ground is massive interest in hotels, in guest houses, thousands and thousands of guest houses in the Western Cape. I recently had the pleasure of um, viewing a guest house of all places in Bellville. So Bellville is a massive suburb of the Western Cape, but it's away from the coastline, so it's almost inland a little bit. And guest houses mostly you find them closer to the city centre or close to the coastline, um, because tourists like to stay close to all amenities. This particular guest house had 50 rooms and had 100% occupancy all year round. So that was really interesting to see that. We've been to the property, we've had a look at the books, and that's that is not something that we might have seen 5 or 10 years ago. So the growth rate in tourists coming into South Africa, the growth rate in business people making use of those facilities is on the increase. Um, Year on year. Okay, you there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So I think that was a great breakdown of some of the exciting things coming up and exciting things going on in the Western Cape and Cape Town real estate market. So, for me, I haven't visited the city personally, right? So, like you said, one of the advantages that you have is you're there boots on the ground as a commercial real estate broker. So, from your point of view, what would you say is, on a commercial real estate investment level, some of the biggest advantages of both people from inside of South Africa, but also internationally investing in commercial real estate properties in Cape Town, right? Aside from all the growth, what are you seeing now as from a commercial broker point of view, the benefits of investing money into the Cape Town commercial real estate market?
Yeah, look, Kobe. So we it might sound biased because we are West Cape brokers, and I wouldn't say so. I remember very distinctly only a few years ago I contacted. So we were involved with the development in Ottery, which is a suburb of the Western Cape. where we sold a piece of development land. It had the correct zoning. We sold it to one of the most reputable companies in the Western Cape, if not South Africa. Massive private developers. They have massive holdings overseas in the UK and the United States as well. I won't mention them on air until such time as you know we're more comfortable doing that. And not to punt anybody in particular, but they're very, very well known. They've just done a massive development in the city. Um, People who know Cape Town will probably know who I'm talking about. Anyway, so we sold them a massive, a fairly big piece of land, and there was an opportunity for a site development plan to be approved, call it 1,500 units, okay, in Ottery, which is not a big suburb. And I remember calling up a fund manager who was based in the United States, and we presented the listing to him, and he said, "Oh, it looks fantastic, um, brilliant. The only thing he said is, what's the return on investment?" So I said, "Oh, it's actually very favorable. It's probably about you can probably get about 11% net ROI." He said, 11? Oh, Joe, we need 25% if we can invest in South Africa. So I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking. So the rest of the world, and I say with great respect, they leverage and risk assure themselves and their investments um, based on what the potential risk could be. And South Africa for a long time has always been a long shot. Okay, maybe parts of South Africa still are, but that gap is definitely narrowing. Okay, more and more and more people are starting to realize. So the more exposure the Western Cape gets, and inner city Cape Town, um, with world-class facilities, um, world-class amenities. You just have a look at the Cape Town Convention Center, which is now being privatized, by the way. So if you want me to say anything about anything, if there's anybody out there listening to your podcast, and let's hope it's positive. One of the things that's happening, and people can contact you and say, "Who was that crazy guy on your podcast?" He made a lot of sense about the Cape Town Convention Center, voted one of the top convention centers in the world many years. Okay, world-class facilities. I don't know what else. I shouldn't be punting them, but I can't help myself because it is 72% owned by the city of Cape Town. So it's part of our infrastructure. It's not completely privately owned. But the idea is to sell that off, and that I think would be a massive investment opportunity for anybody around the world because it's world-class facilities in a world-class city, incredibly low crime rate. What we think is an incredibly low crime rate for the city of Cape Town. I can't, so I can't speak for other cities around the world, but I know myself as Joe the broker. I can walk through the entire Cape Town area at any time of the day or night, and I would not be concerned for my physical security at all. 100% that I can say that with. I might be beaten over the head for saying that, and somebody might challenge me on that, but I know we do it all the time. I have teenage kids or kids that are partying in Cape Town, whatever the case is. We drive into Cape Town at any time of the day or night. There's massive police presence, massive private security, like any major city around the world, massive CCTV, drones in the sky, facial recognition is becoming a reality in South Africa. The head of Cape Town, City of Cape Town Security, JP Smith, zero tolerance to crime. Um, Gordon Hill Lewis, our mayor, they're all moving in the right direction. They're promoting South Cape Town. They've got clean audits. Um, so to get back to your question, so where there might be opportunity is to invest in world-class assets, which are giving around about between 9.5% and 10.5% net return on investment. So especially if it's in a declining interest rate environment overseas, as we are here. But I'm not sure what your current interest rate is, about 4 or 5%, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's coming down a bit. So it might go down to about 3%. I'm not sure what it is in America at the moment. And moving forward, getting a 10% net return. So a lot of the real estate investment trusts buy in at around about 9.75, 10% is World Cup, 11% is possible. And so those opportunities, even though, for example, if you're borrowing $1 billion and investing 20 billion, that's almost a current exchange rate, it's around about 18 Rand now, approximately. Um, so if you're investing 18 billion and you're collecting a 10% net rental, a net return on investment, but you're borrowing the money at 3%, for example. So the spread can be your profit. Obviously, there's other things to take into account. You've got an arbitrage you've got to um, cover yourself with futures for any currency moves. And there are other expenses to take into account. So in theory, it sounds easy, but it is happening already. Companies from around the world are looking at South Africa. Institutional funds as well from outside of South Africa are purchasing in the Western Cape, not for the first time, but it's growing exponentially. So a lot of the money is currently local money, the pension funds, provident funds, institutional investments, real estate investment trusts, uh, portfolio managers. A lot of the money is generated from within South Africa. Um, and purchasing in areas like the Western Cape, where we remain completely unfazed or unscared of whatever risk there might be, because we know it's stable. We live it every day. We're driving into and out of Cape Town, just as you live in your area and you feel comfortable in your area or the surrounding areas. For us to drive from Simonstown, which is on the tip of the one coastline, right across to Chapman's Peak on the other side, or onto the Atlantic seaboard, which is literally another ocean. So we're driving from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. 100% safe, for purchasing, whether it's luxury apartments, whether it's land for residential apartment development, whether it is hotels, whether it is guest houses, um, everything in the commercial space, retail space, industrial space, especially, and office space is considered by us as local people to be virtually relatively low risk, because there's good governance throughout the entire Western Cape region. Sure, there are places where there might be opportunity to generate even higher returns, and the risk increases alongside that. Whether it's buying land in challenging areas where you can get the land at a much greater discounted rate, and putting up affordable housing or gap housing. There's massive demand from affordable housing right all the way through to 30 story what we call a skyscraper. Might not be a skyscraper compared to you guys, but many massive buildings going up. And also, interesting enough, real estate investment trusts purchasing large office portfolios. So there was a time pre-COVID, or at least during COVID or after COVID, when there were discussions about whether we were going to convert so much office space, like literally like multiples of percentages, 20 or 30 or 40% of office space was under the cards to be redeveloped into residential apartments or into student apartments, because it was work from home. It was never going to go back to the way it was. We were entering a new phase in our evolution as humans, and we were never going back. That has happened in some areas, but there's been a definite shift back to working from traditional office space, and vacancy rates for office space are almost at record all-time lows. Okay, industrial space is booming. The supply is so big, demand can't keep up. Okay, so you've seen just to mention industrial, for example, if anybody's thinking of investing in industrial space, in warehousing, a lot of the REITs are spending a lot of money, and when I say a lot, billions, in buying up um, relatively old industrial business parks, renovating them, redeveloping them, bringing them back to the market at a much higher rand per square meter rate, and generating future potential income streams in terms of return on investment, um, because there's so much pent up demand for industrial space. So that augurs well for manufacturing, for logistics, massive logistics and distribution centers going up, as are going up around the world. Last mile DC and logistics is massive, um, because of the massive surge in online, and the need for massive warehousing. So no different to any other major city around the world, except that we might be, and this is my own words and my own thinking, the new kids on the block in terms of, um, it's considered a fantastic holiday destination. A lot of people in business also go on holiday with their families, and are coming to South Africa and seeing Cape Town, for example, for the first time. You know, when you voted number one city in the world, many years in a row, or over a fairly long period of time consecutively, um, happiest city in the world, best airport in the world, massive surge in tourism, um, a coalition government which we don't know the future. The only thing we know is that we don't know. Um, but present day, we can only comment on what we see. Yeah, the smart money might know a little bit more than us, but at the moment, the city of Cape Town government, Western Cape metropolitan area, is well governed, well policed, um, has low levels of corruption, clean history of audits, not for 1 year or 1 month. It goes back years and years and years, and that's the only way really to build a strong reputation, is to be able to repeat a strong performance month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. So they've proven themselves, and so I think they're just bearing the fruits of their hard labor. That's the only way I can say it. And I'm not speaking from any skill insight on my part. We just see it happening all around us. Okay, and yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are things that have to be improved, and yes, there are communities and areas where more funds need to be allocated, so that all people can benefit from the massive surge in um, in commercial, retail, and industrial and office that the city of Cape Town and the Western Cape, in broader terms, is going through. Yes, it's helped massively by a declining interest rate. That always helps. That's around the world. Lower interest rates, more money is available, more credit is available, more developers can move into the market, develop whatever it is that they want to develop, and profit from that. Um, yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah.
So yeah, so in a nutshell, a high rate of return, a high net rate of return on your investment, um, all things being equal, um, and safe and secure environment for most sectors of the property industry, whether it's from hotels to guest houses, to ordinary residential developments, apartment blocks, student residential as well, student accommodation. So one of the things that the South African government, and many years ago, not just now, is introduced NSFAS funding, where most students who are unable to afford student funding for most degrees and diplomas, through thousands and thousands of academies, technicons, universities, our main university as well. have been able to afforded the opportunity to study post-tertiary qualifications, and that has created an enormous need for student accommodation. So in the Cape Town alone, I think there's a backlog of 20 to 30,000 beds alone for just for student accommodation. So those loans are paid to students as long as they pass from year to year. They don't have to pay those loans back. So that might be music to your ears, because I know that one of the things that students struggle with in the United States and that's we see it in all the movies, students saddled with student finance debt. It might be different now, I don't know, but that's always been top of mind for American families and students going into the workforce. They're carrying a fair amount of student finance debt. That's not the case in South Africa. So a lot of majority of students are afforded free education as long as they perform, and that seems like a good deal. And so student accommodation as a sector is a sector worth taking note of, because very high return on investment. There are well-established public listed companies, REITs, that invest heavily in student accommodation. It's not just a passing phase or trend, and I think that's been actually one of the highlights of our new dispensation of the last 30 years, is affording people education so that they can lift themselves, lift their families, and create an ever expanding tax base, which in theory is just about the only way that you can keep all services moving forward, and infrastructure spending and in high speed, is by increasing your tax base, because traditionally we have had a very low tax base in South Africa, and we're trying to change that. And I think from day to day. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. If To answer your question, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's really good to people for people to actually hear about that because in terms of on a global scale, people think of
yeah.
these different markets that they can invest in, but there's not a lot of information being kind of put out there about South Africa in general, and of course Cape Town and Western Cape, both on the economy side, but also
Yeah.
commercial real estate in specifically.
Yeah, I think Kobe, you're breaking up a little bit, but I got the gist of what you're saying, and um, I'm not going to go off for another 10 minutes and answer a question that you just posed me again, because I will, if you let me. But so what I'll do is I'll copy in after this meeting, and in the course of tomorrow and the next day. So well established, highly regarded um, um, quarterly reports that do come out are the Rhoda report, RHODE, um, 50 years of experience reporting on all sectors of the South African economy, and literally into micro detail, all the different sectors. Rhoda report is readily available. John Lewis F&B report, world class, world class. John Lewis has been reporting, giving F&B report for decades, and very professional, very up to date, um, and the facts on the ground are fantastic. Um, um, and a couple of other significant reports. So I'll copy you into those as well, and maybe depending on how much hate mail I get, maybe that can be a topic for. I'm just joking. That can be a topic of discussion, moving forward. If people want to engage on a more detailed level, I think I've just tried to be enthusiastic about the Western Cape, and you cannot be. I don't know. Maybe some people can, but it's hard to fake enthusiasm. Okay, so you can, but we're not faking it. They say fake it till you make it, but we're not faking it here in the Western Cape. It has us say it, and you know me, Kobe. I'm pretty restrained tonight. Okay, so normally it can get a lot more enigmatic than this, but I'm trying to save your reputation here. So what I'm just joking. What I mean is I can't put it across. uh, any more. What's the word? Yeah, it just we living it at the moment, and maybe it's as I say, every dog has his day. It just is our environment. It is our everyday living. We're not all going crazy. There are lots of challenges, but there's an air of positivity. There's a spirit to every deal. Okay, and sometimes that spirit can not be. The sentiment is that there are more positive driving forces in the Western Cape than there are negative driving forces. There are less headwinds than we experienced maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of the work has been done behind the scenes, and it also required the whole of South Africa to 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 decide on a coalition government, and the powers that be at the time deciding to work together instead of war against each other. War not in a literal sense, but to to have conflicting ideas and not try and work together. Whether that's going to be the ultimate savior of South Africa, we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, it's more of they're working together for a better future, and seems to be working well in the Western Cape, and in other parts of South Africa. And uh, you have to have somebody needs to take the lead, call it that way. Okay, and so just like in any other continent or any other country, it's broken up into states or provinces, and there's some that lead, and there's some that need to see that some are leading in order to mimic or duplicate that. So we're all in it together, really, and it's not about one being better than the other. But for the moment, Western Cape is booming, especially for maybe outside investors outside who maybe want to test the waters, the hospitality industry, because tourism creates a hospitality industry, and if tourism is booming, and it is, then maybe look to the hotel industry, the guest house industry. Um, that would be a good starting point for those big investors overseas who are looking for a stable investment returns, retail centers, um, industrial business parks are doing incredibly well. Um, they in fact lead. They lead in terms of growth and return on investment. Um, Industrial business parks lead the way in terms of net return, ahead of commercial, ahead of retail, and ahead of office. But office is catching up. So office also might be a potential investment opportunity, because a lot of office space maybe has been devalued over the last couple of years, and that might be an opportunity to buy in at a lower rand per square meter rate. But if you see what's happening with office space in the Western Cape, it seems like it's almost back to where it was pre-COVID. But yet there's still areas where sellers might be leaving office space for looking for other opportunities, and that might be an opportunity for an investor to pick it up at a lower rand per square meter rate, and then wait for that office space to be filled, because it seems to be trending upwards. There are a couple of REITs that have purchased large chunks of office space in the recent history, and we wondered at the time, what their thinking was, but their thinking led the way, because office space has recovered from, call it 25% vacancy 4 years ago, down to 3 or 4% in the western in city of Cape Town, in a city. So the opportunities in every sector. I think high net return, safe investment environment, declining crime rates, strong infrastructural spending. Um, I think paves the way for the next 5 to 10 years in the Western Cape, with the tourism industry possibly leading the way. So hospitality is very strong. Student accommodation is very strong, because there's a massive demand for student beds. So as long as that demand is there, it has to be met. And the only way it can be met is by purchasing properties that can be converted into student accommodation, which is not it's not that difficult. We experience it on the ground. Getting the zoning right is not difficult because the city of Cape Town supports that for the most part. You know, they have to accommodate those extra beds over time, and so they do everything in their power within the boundaries of the regulations on the ground. So student accommodation is a growing sector. Hotels, guest houses, um, and anything like so. Just I think maybe just an ending. It's worth noting that a recent report that I read, if you compare the Atlantic seaboard, which is where most of the luxury developments are, on luxury apartments, and I say with great respect uh, to all that live in South Africa, I'm just highlighting one particular area. So compared to like the south of France, for example, and Monaco, rand per square meter, it's 80 times cheaper rand per square meter to buy the same type of real estate on the Atlantic seaboard than it is to purchase in Monaco. Okay, Monaco is Monaco. South of France is South of France, and Rio de Janeiro is Rio de Janeiro. So they're beautiful coastlines around the world, but 80 times cheaper, um, rand for rand. So in comparison, so you look out onto the ocean, and it's 80 times cheaper, and you're seeing the same sea with the magnificent views. That might have an impact, and that might persuade you as an American investor or European investor or whatever, from any country around the world, German, wherever, South American, Australian, New Zealand. You're getting, I say it with great respect, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Um, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how much space you need to live in, but it's there and it's 80 times less expensive. That must factor in at some point. So economies of scale. Um, yeah. On that note, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's very important, Joe, to point that out because I think a lot of people think of, lower price as equating to lower quality, but that's clearly not the case based on what
Not
you've
at all.
said,
Yeah.
your experience as well. So it's one thing to, purchase purchase properties at a lower price, but another to get pretty much same or similar qualities properties, investments at 80
Yeah.
times less. That's a massive
Yeah.
opportunity regardless of where you're at as well.
100%. I wish I'd started the podcast with that conversation piece. But yeah, so that is it. There's no denying our rand exchange rate. So for a lot of people coming to the country, it hovers around about 20 rand to the dollar, 19, 18 rand to the pound. It's 24 rand to the pound. You can't, you know yourself. You're coming over here in a couple of months' time. Uh, um, and I said we use the word foreigners. You're not foreigners. You're just people from other countries coming to visit us. We're all brothers under one sun, and it is cheap. And I don't use the word cheap. Okay, it's not the right word. It's good value for money in South Africa across all sectors. It's good value for money. We have some top hotels on the market for 400 million rand. That's $20 million. Like $20 million doesn't buy you a 300-bedroom hotel in New York. No ways. No ways. Not even a
Probably better
Trump
to
auction.
go on the front.
So exactly. So $20 million, and I don't know how else to put this across. Maybe this is about the only good thing I'm going to say. $20 million buys you a hotel, four-star hotel, 80% occupancy, 250 rooms. Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know. You can only sleep in one bed at night. So like how much do you need? It's four-star rated. It's four-star rated. There's five-star rated. One or two places around the world that's six or seven. But a four-star rated hotel is a beautiful hotel. $20 million buys you all of that. 15,000 square meters of GLA, 20 floors up. Beautiful. magnificent views of the harbor, of the Cape Town Convention Center, of the Cape Town Stadium, of our magnificent mountain. And blow me down, I forgot to mention that we're the only country in the world that has Table Mountain. I don't know why I forgot to mention that to you. Like, it's right there. Yeah, it's one of the great, like, one of the great wonders of the world. Um, we have the Big Five game. We don't have them running in the streets. Some people might think, but we have fantastic nature reserves, game reserves, fantastic coastlines, great white shark swimming all around, great beaches. I mean, we can go on and on and on, and any city around the world can expound the virtues of the space that they occupy. Um, but some truly magnificent tourist sites, and truly magnificent city. And I say this with great respect to every city around the world. It's a good place to stay. It's a good place to come and visit, and especially if we're traveling from outside of this continent. Very, very, very good value for money. Whether you're a tourist, whether you're a student, whether you're an investor, whether you're a retiree looking to take your pension fund and purchase somewhere else in another country, so that your pension fund, well, once converted, allows you to live a fantastic quality of life once those dollars, pounds, euros uh, are converted into rands, yen, whatever the case is. So massive opportunity in all sectors as I see it on the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's
yeah,
it's fantastic. And I mean, honestly, from the brief research that I've done, like you mentioned, I will be visiting soon, right
yeah,
next year in a couple
yeah,
months. It's coming up fast.
yeah,
The exchange
yeah,
rate,
isn't it?
yeah, it's insane how how much value you can get for an affordable price in the Cape Town market,
100%.
as a tourist coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you are flying here in February, because then you can go on one of your podcasts and say, you know that guy Joe, everything he said was absolutely true. I was there. I experienced it for myself. And that's the case. We're inviting everybody around the world to come and visit this beautiful city. And by extension, I mean the rest of South Africa as well. It's not just about the Western Cape. But if you're going to be impressed about South Africa, then a good starting point would be to fly into Cape Town. Yeah, we can't wait to have you here. I'll be honored to have you as our guest, and by extension, the rest of the United States, the rest of Europe, the rest of Asia, and any other country around the world. We want you to come and visit us. We want you to come and understand what we're all about, and through creating new friendships, new investment relationships, hopefully we can just keep the momentum going forward. We have to. I mean, we can't think that the alternative is unacceptable. So if that's a great way to consider investing, the alternative is unacceptable. We must move forward. We must invest. We must believe that with faith, courage, perseverance, consistency, and belief in each other, that we can create something better moving forward. I believe that. That's why
Absolutely.
we're here this evening. Yeah, yeah. Great, man.
Exactly. And it's great to have you. It's great to
Okay.
have you, Joe. And say thank
Yeah,
you for being on our and
yeah,
for our listeners out there that want to reach out to you, that want to learn more, right? Maybe they listen to this show, maybe they're another broker in a different country, or maybe they're an investor and
yeah.
they thought what you said was super interesting today. What are some of the best ways, or what is the best way for people to reach out directly to you and get in contact with you to learn a little bit more in detail about the Cape Town real estate market?
I think probably the most formal way, and let's start off with the formal. I do so much, and some people wrap me over the knuckles. I do so much work over WhatsApp, but let's keep it formal. So I think what I'll do is I'll copy you into my email address,
Mhm.
without mentioning the company. You know who I work for, and it's a happy coincidence that it's one of the largest real estate companies in the world. It's very well represented around the world. It's very easy to get reference checks on the agency that we work for. It's one of the largest agencies in the Western Cape, if not in South Africa. I think it's number 3 in the Western Cape, number 6 or 7 in the whole of South Africa, and that by extension means one of the largest in Africa, actually. So, but it's not about the name of the agency. And it's not about just me personally. So I'll copy. I think you've got my. That's the best way. Is just to reach out, drop me a mail, and then however, whatever your fancy is, whether you want to be on Zoom, WhatsApp, live chat, phone call. I can do anything. I'll do anything that you want if you're serious about chatting to us and opening up the lines of communication. And whatever reports are required, there's so many professional publications, so many think tanks and institutions, Westgrove, for example, that support uh, all sectors of Western Cape in terms of tourism, uh, um, et cetera, investment in South Africa. Virtually all companies that are trading in South Africa are listed with Westgrove, um, especially the larger ones. And there's so much information available on most professional platforms. And from that email, I can direct any investment house, any private investor, any institutional investor, any listed company in the United States or around the world. Um, there are triple A graded investment opportunities in the Western Cape, in South Africa, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll make sure to
No,
leave your
thank you
email in
very
the
much,
description.
Kobe.
Yep, absolutely. We'll make sure to leave your
Okay.
email and contact information below. And Joe, before we let you go, man, do you have any like
Yeah.
last pieces of advice, just like last golden nuggets you want to leave with the audience before we let you sign off for today?
No, I don't know. I don't know about golden nuggets. Or we have a catchphrase here: passion, energy, joy. So,
Yeah.
so we just passionate about the Western Cape. We're passionate about the job that we do. I'm an old man now, um, so maybe my energy levels are not as high as yours. Although sometimes I think I don't know. I need to get to sleep sometimes, and then just the joy of like this interaction. Just it's completely transparent. There's nothing about the Western Cape and investing in the Western Cape that is hidden or the challenges that will only be revealed at a later stage. I think passion, energy, joy is about the best thing I can say about my experience in commercial property, and I think if people are like-minded, then we can work together on anything really. That's the
Yep.
advantage here. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks so much for being on the
Okay,
show.
take care.
Appreciate you.
Have
Yeah,
a great
awesome.
Sunday forward. Yeah, take care. Cheers. Bye bye.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you.
Bye bye.